Welcome back to Diamond Mountain Retreat Series, How to Do Retreat at Home. Venerable Gelse,
Venerable Sunam.
how to do retreat at home is about uncertainty. You surrender into uncertainty, and that is something which is necessary in the moment. Everybody has worries, what happens in the world, what happens with you personally, with your family, with your friends. And so retreat is a form how you learn how to tackle uncertainty and to surrender to it. So what have we done in our last retreat? In our last video, also in our last retreat, we talked about the definition of retreat, what are the disadvantages if you don't do retreat, what are the benefits of retreat, and we talked about motivation. So I hope you have set your motivation for your retreat, especially Venerable Chunzum sharing her retreat experience hopefully helped you to set your motivation. So what we are doing in today's video, we are talking about what different kinds of retreat are available, how to prepare your space, and what you are allowed to take into retreat and what you better don't take into your retreat. So let's start with the different retreat types. There are wellness and spa retreats out there. We are not talking about that.
We are yoga retreats out there.
We are not talking about yoga retreat, even if yoga is part of a meditation retreat. So that is something which most people have in mind when they are thinking about retreat, is a meditation retreat. That you have a lot of meditation sessions each day. That is one type. Another type of retreat we will cover in this series is study retreat. That means you are studying texts which have deep meaning. We recommend especially to study Buddhist texts from our lineage, the Tsongkhapa lineage, which influence you very deeply if you study the texts in a retreat setting where you have the time to read them and contemplate and meditate on them. And then we are talking about a third type of retreat, which is the mantra retreat, where you are doing a lot of mantras each day. We will link for you in the description down below courses which you can do in your retreat for study, for meditation, and also for mantra. So maybe browse around and figure out which one will fit your needs, what you want to do in your retreat, which fits to the motivation you have set for your retreat. And also you can do a combination of all three types. You can meditate each day, you can study each day, and you can do mantra each day, or maybe only two of them, or really concentrate on one type. So when we do the video about how to set up your schedule, we will take into account the different types of retreats. So maybe you figure out, browse around what we link down there in the description, and maybe you are inspired and pick one of these courses for your retreat.
What if I need to do a retreat that I have to work part of the day and then I have part of the day to do retreat, or I have a family and I want to do a retreat? I would also call this a combination retreat.
Yes, I would call it a combination retreat of combining the retreat and your family and your work. And that's perfect as well. So this is what we talk about in the schedule, that this is also a retreat, but that's more referring to schedule, not to the content. So you decide maybe if you are with your family that you do retreat all day long and maybe have 2 hours you spend with your family. Or you can do it the other way around, that you are going working, spend your family life, and then decide that you are doing 3 hours of retreat every day. We will deepen this in our upcoming video about how to do the schedule for your retreat. So another thing to decide before you go into retreat is how long do you want to do retreat. Maybe you decide to do 1 day retreat every week. Maybe you decide on a long weekend starting Friday and ending Sunday night, or maybe you decide to do 10 day or 2 weeks or 3 months or 3 years. So it is on the other side very, very important that you decide when your retreat starts and when it ends. Because during the retreat time you stick to certain rules, and so it's important for yourself that you commit to the start and to the end, that you stick to it. Would you like to tell a little bit how to prepare the house or the place of retreat?
Sure.
Especially at home, that's really a challenge. Here in Diamond Mountain, you get a beautiful cottage and everything is prepared for you. But at home, you need to take a little bit more care to prepare your house and your retreat space.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So, doing retreat in your house, of course, can be very distracting. Let's start with that, because there's so many things around. You've got your books, you've got your pictures, you've got your photographs, you've got your favorite this, your favorite that. And every time you look at it, there's an association with it. So it can be very distracting to do retreat in that kind of setting. Mm-hmm. So what's recommended is to create a very sacred space that's very, very simple. And before you even do that, well, first, you're going to move out the things that you don't want in there. And it's recommended to remove your books, photographs, if they're not specific to your retreat, paintings, unless it's a totally inspiring painting that will also help you, just to remove things that might distract you. So you remove those and put them in boxes, put them somewhere else, to be brought back out after your retreat, because what you're trying to do is quiet your mind. And when we have lots of stuff around us, our minds don't get so quiet. So we want to make it free of clutter and a distraction-free space. Also, it's really nice to be able to have space to do yoga or some type of movement exercise, right, to keep your energy going. Because sitting for many hours, you need to counteract that by moving your body, moving the energy that has settled so that it can circulate and redistribute in a very balanced way. So you make space for your yoga mat, or you do Tai Chi, or you do some dance, or just some kind of exercise. Some people like to jump rope because they have so much energy. I'm not a high energy person like that, but you do need to have some type of physical exercise. What were you going to throw in?
I'm living in a one-room apartment, so is the whole apartment then my retreat space? How do I handle that if I don't have a separate room to where I can do my retreat?
So in some ways, yes, your whole space, if you're in a one-room apartment, becomes your retreat space. And so because you're going to be cooking in there, you're going to be walking through it to go to the bathroom. Again, it would be good to make it as zen as possible, as simple and clear of clutter as possible. That said, if you're not able to do that, take one small space in there, in your room or in your apartment, and set it aside where you will do your meditation, and make that space sacred. Make that space the space where you will sit and meditate, and make it so that it's not distracting. This is also an important point if you're sharing a space with somebody else. If you're sharing it with a friend or a spouse or your family, you have to work out with them what space you will use. I have a friend who did retreat at home with his family, and he found a space in his basement to set up his retreat space. Maybe you don't have that possibility, so you have to come up with some type of agreement with all of those people who you live with about how you will integrate with them and how you will integrate your meditation space. So that's something for you to figure out. We will talk more about that, and we're looking forward to maybe having someone tell us more about that who has personal experience about it. and share that with you. So it's really difficult. It can be. The most difficult thing, right, to do retreat in your house is probably this shared space. Say you have a spouse and you share a bed with them. Well, and that's the only room you can do your meditation in. How are you going to work that out? So these are things to think about and to talk about as you begin to plan for your retreat with your family. So yeah, the more peaceful and the more decluttered your space can be, the more peaceful and decluttered your own mind will be. And then things will be able to arise that you can look at, and it's like, oh, I didn't know that was there. Oh, I didn't understand that before. So it's starting from the outside and going to the inside. So do your spring cleaning, and once you've done your spring cleaning thoroughly, and it is spring after all, keep your space tidy, keep it clean, keep it sacred. So now you've created your space. The next thing is, okay, I've got a space now. What am I going to put into it? Well, probably the first thing you need to think about is, what are you going to sit on? You can sit on a meditation cushion. You can sit in a chair. Find something that works specially for you that's comfortable. And some people, or a Zen bench, you'll need things sometimes to support your knees. If your inner thighs are not open enough, if you're sitting on a cushion. The most important thing is to sit comfortably so that you don't have to think about your body. Because if you're obsessing on, oh, my knee is hurting, oh, my back is hurting, that's what your retreat's going to be about. And that's really not what we're suggesting your retreat be about. Yeah. So make sure you have test it out first. Make sure you have something comfortable. Even if you usually sit on a cushion, you might want to have a chair to sit in as a break. And I've always found that really helpful.
I found that also helpful, that maybe do one session of meditation on the cushion on the floor and then do the next one on the chair. So have two options that you can switch. Otherwise, it's really hard on the body.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I like a third option, which is to have a comfy chair to sit in between. Okay. So you can just relax in it. So if there's room, if there's space, think about these things and how it would work and test them out for yourself. If you haven't meditated much or you haven't done a long retreat, do I need one cushion? Do I need 4 cushions? How many cushions do I need? Is that chair really comfortable for me? Check it out. If you're sitting on the floor, it's really nice to have, in fact, I would say it's important to have some type of cushion under your knees and your ankles, because our ankle bones stick out and they will get sore. I also recommend having a cloth on top of whatever you sit on, because sometimes heat can build up under your legs and you might sweat, and then you have some fabric or cloth, a towel, bath towel, you can just throw it in the laundry, right? So that's very simple. Other distractions can be electricity. I know when I did a retreat in my house, both my circuit box, which was in the house, and my refrigerator hummed terribly. And so I would unplug them.
I did the same.
Or I would just flip all the circuit breakers off while I was meditating, because it was this deep, this deep machine noise, and it was very distracting. And as a meditator, if you're not at the place of a deep state of meditation, it will be very distracting. You can use that distraction to help get yourself slowly into meditation as well, like using the sound of a washing machine or a refrigerator or an air conditioner to be your point of focus, but you really don't want that to be your only point of focus. So check it out. These are all things to check out. Clear up as much unfinished business as you possibly can. Pay your bills. If you've got a toothache, well, if you can go to the dentist, get it taken care of. Things like that. And then, so then you're in your retreat place, you have a place, comfortable place to sit. Some people might want to set up an altar and the things that go on an altar that are sacred to you. And now you're going to, okay, everything's ready. What about clothes? What do you want to wear? What's going to be comfortable? Again, because of heat buildup when you're meditating, it's nice to have loose clothes and then to wear clothes on, layers on top. So if you're too cold, you put more on, and then if you warm up, you can take it off. But don't have clothes that are binding and tight, because again, that doesn't let the energy flow very well. So this layering method is really good.
I also love to wear natural fiber. I have the impression if I have any synthetic fiber, I don't know, it influences me in the sense of that the temperature control is not as good, even with the modern fibers. And I think really the natural fibers influence the quietude and of the mind much better.
I think cotton especially. Linen can be a little scratchy.
I'm more the silk type and
You're
the wool type.
Wool is good as an outer garment sometimes, and the new wool inner garments are really nice too. But absolutely. Yeah. So what not to bring into retreat? Don't bring in the outside world. The news, the Facebook, letters, telephone calls, the worries from work, worrying about what's going on outside in the world while you're inside. Try and leave that outside and not bring it inside your retreat. Also, a really nice thing that you can ask someone to do is to cook for you. And then you don't even have to think about that outside thing, right? They can deliver your food to you. And it's a really nice thing for them to be able to do to participate in your retreat. So that's another option. If you do cook, and we'll talk about this later, both of us highly recommend that you cook enough for 3, 4, 5 days of the same thing and just eat that. Make it simple. Then you don't have to think about it and take all this time obsessing about what am I going to have for lunch and what am I going to have for dinner. So focus on your retreat. Leave other things outside of the retreat. Your job is to meditate and to rest.
Yes. So, what are you allowed to take into retreat? And again, you make the rules. We are giving you recommendations. The first recommendation is really take care that you have, if you take drugs, take enough that you have over the whole time.
We're talking about medication.
Yeah. Is that a different word in English?
Well, drugs sometimes also connotes things like heroin and meth and things like that.
Okay. No, I'm talking about your medical treatment. Please have enough on hand. We want you to be safe and healthy in your retreat. Also take some aspirin. It's very common that you get maybe headache. Sleep aid is also recommended sometimes during retreat. You're building up energy and really get excited, and then it's really helpful if you have a slight sleep aid. A first aid kit is normal. If you do a mantra retreat, make sure you have a lip balm. That's very helpful if you're doing a mantra retreat, as well as cough drops. Thank you so much, my English teacher. Especially for mantra retreat, because you're talking a lot. So these two things are especially for mantra retreats. I highly recommend earplugs, especially when you are doing it at home. You are not in a quiet place. Maybe your family is around. Maybe there is a street in front of your house or whatever. So I really would recommend earplugs. I have good experience meditating with earplugs. It helps me a lot if I'm in a noisy surrounding. We already talked about the meditation things, the cushion for meditation, the sabutan, a yoga mat for your exercise, and the comfortable chair to meditate on. What is highly recommended, take a journal, really take an old-fashioned notebook and an old-fashioned pen. During a retreat, it's the best time to put the thoughts and insights you have during meditation into a journal so that you can review them after your retreat is over, and also you can take notes what you would change in your next retreat.
I'd also like to say that it's really nice to get a journal that's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
That it says, come write in me, come write in me. It's something
Yeah.
that would be special and beautiful. I have a meditation journal that I started in my first solo retreat, and I'm still using it, right? So I continue to use that same journal. So it's got this whole history in it, which is really wonderful to reflect back on
Yeah.
and to look at the advices that I wrote to myself.
Thank you. Then there are a few things we wouldn't recommend that you take into retreat, and that is especially internet access. So please, if you do retreat, especially if you are doing a study retreat, download all the things you might watch, like classes or homework or material. Please download it and try to stay unconnected during the whole retreat. Turn off your phone, turn off your computer, and especially turn off internet. If you don't do it, it's so much discipline to not fall into the trap of social media. That's why turning it off, we highly recommend to do it before. If
You could even give it to someone else
You
to
can-
keep for you, right?
especially for emergencies, so yeah, maybe give your phone to somebody else, or give people, your family, your friends, the number of a friend for emergencies, who can then inform you if there is an emergency. So also the emergency communication plan, set it up today. Yeah, one which is especially my advice to myself: don't take things to do into your retreat, like, oh, I do retreat at home, maybe it's time for spring cleaning, maybe I can finally fix a lot of things in my apartment. Please don't do that. Either do it before, like Venerable Gyaltse said, when you prepare your retreat space, but don't put anything to do in your apartment on the list for retreat. You are there to meditate and to rest, and not to fix your apartment.
What about books? Can I bring books in with me?
Only the ones which are part of your retreat.
Okay.
And especially with books and the study material, I highly recommend to have a printed copy. I have done only a 3-day retreat. I was traveling, and I had my materials on the computer, and it's influencing. The screen is transmitting some kind of energy which is not conducive for a meditation or study retreat. So I would highly recommend print out the study material if you do a study retreat, or the mantra or whatever you need for your retreat, on paper. We are old-fashioned there. And the experience showed me that this old-fashioned paper really has a positive influence. Yeah.
So you've done a retreat in your apartment, which is a one-room apartment. What have you done to set the space up so it works for you?
I'm living a little bit of a Zen style, so I haven't had in the beginning a lot of stuff in my apartment. The only thing, I had a big bookshelf, and it had doors with glass in it, so I could see all the books. So I decided to just pin white papers onto the glass that I could not see the books. And it's, I think now 5 years ago that I did this retreat at my home, and the paper is still on the shelf. If I open a door, I can still nowadays literally feel how the books are talking to me, which you don't want to have in retreat. Yeah. Otherwise, I set up really a nice corner with my altar and my meditation space, and it felt very sacred and full of positive energy after a few days. So you can really load this corner.
And I took advantage of my dresser, and I used the top of my dresser as my altar. So just incorporating things and using what you have. And I too kept the space really zen, as we would say. Just very, very simple and clean.
Yeah. And the other question, when you do it at home, because do you bring your pet? Is your pet a allowed item during your retreat? I did my retreat with my cat, and it was so beautiful. She never disturbed my meditation. She was sitting most of the time when I meditated next to me, and I had the feeling she was meditating with me. Yes, I know it was maybe not the case, but she really felt the change of energy in the apartment and adjusted quite nicely, not disturbing me.
So I had a totally different experience. My cat, when I would sit down to meditate, would charge all around the house and jump off of surfaces. He was like so energized.
Okay, yeah.
So, again,
Figure it out.
figure it out. So, what's our next thing we wanted to talk about?
Oh, the boundaries, the inner and outer boundaries of your retreat. Like, what is your retreat space? This is also a decision you have to make before you start retreat. What is your retreat corner? What is your retreat room, or maybe your whole house? And also, what are the inner retreat boundaries? And for this, we have a separate video which will show up in the next days, where we show you how you set these retreat boundaries. So, what have we done today? Short recap. What types of retreats we are talking about: meditation retreat, study retreat, mantra retreat, a combination of them, and also that a retreat can be 24 hours for several days, for one day, but you can also do a retreat like 3 hours per day and go to work or be with your family the rest of the day. Then you talked a lot about how to set up the physical space, and we had what to take into retreat and what not to take into retreat. What are we doing in our next video?
In our next video,
I think food and schedule.
Right, food and schedule.
There's a lot to say about food. You will be surprised.
Well, food is a pretty important thing to all of us. So it's like, okay, how am I going to cook? What am I going to eat? What's best for me to eat? What's not good for me to eat? So we'll talk about that. And schedule is food for the mind. And so they're very connected. And we'll share our experiences and information passed down to us from our teachers with you next time. So let's have a short little meditation. Sit up nice and straight so the energy can flow through your body. Close your eyes gently and focus your breath at the tip of your nose. Feel it as it comes in and goes out. Begin to imagine what your space will look like, the space where you're going to do your retreat. Think about what space you can use in your home. See it clearly as it is now. And then in your mind, begin to transform it into your sacred, peaceful meditation space. What would you take out? What would you move around? What might you bring in? Imagine what your meditation space will look like. And then see yourself meditating in that space. And for a moment, open your eyes as you are in that space, not as you are now, and look around and see, is this space helping me to meditate, or might I need to change it a little bit? And then, having looked at your space and evaluated, note what you would like to change. Or if you're totally happy with it, note that too. And then close your eyes again. This is your imaginary you in your meditation space, closing your eyes. And feel this peace and the sacredness surrounding you, entering you, and bringing peace and sacredness into your own being. Letting it flow into you. Allowing you to surrender, to let go of the outside world. Of any worries or fears that you might have. Feel them just melt away. Your whole being is saturated in inner peace. And your body is so full of this inner peace, it begins to leak out through the pores of your body. And it spreads out. to the people in your home, the people in your village or city, your country, the world, and beyond. Bringing peace and compassion for each other. Every being is touched by it. Then come back to your meditation cushion. 3 long exhales. And when you're ready, open your eyes and give yourself a stretch and a pat on the back.
Thank you for this beautiful meditation, Rabbi Gerson. Thank you for watching. Thank you for preparing your retreat. Please ask questions if you have any in the comments below, or send us an email to personalretreat@diamondmountain.org. See you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.